iRacing. You wanted the best, you got them for a breast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Good evening, good afternoon, race fans. We've got another good one here from Lanier National Speedway. It's the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series, live here on iRacing Live, RaceBot.tv, DirtVision.com. Hello, everybody. I'm Cameron Walsh with Randy Chenoweth and Hugo Louis. We're going to be bringing you the next round number 8 of the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series as they take their tour around the dirt tracks here on the iRacing service. Well, Randy, we're going to the newest one that we have, Lanier National Speedway. We paved over it with some dirt, and, well, we're going to let these 410 wing sprint cars have at it.
Yeah, we're back here at Lanier. This is going to be the second time we've seen this racetrack here on our Monday night broadcast, and it's going to be an interesting one. Like you said, it's the shortest we have at 3/8 mile oval. Everything else is a half mile or larger, so a little bit tighter here. Makes for some very, very interesting racing, and can give you sort of an idea of what we're going to see once we eventually get Kokomo here in the coming months.
Yeah, Kokomo, of course, that was the track that was voted by you, the race fans, as to the one that iRacing should be focusing on. Unfortunately, you all voted incorrectly. The correct answer was, of course, the track up here that is Weed Sport. But yeah, we'll get Kokomo, so that'll be good. Hopefully, we'll get even more. All of them, of course, that were on the voting list were going to be made at some point. They're just trying to figure out which ones people like, and apparently Kokomo is the one that people like, so that'll hopefully be good. We'll hopefully have that sooner rather than later. Qualifying underway, though, here in the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series. Right now, as it stands, Steven Renaud, he's putting in a good time at 11.587. Lewis Hewitt, he just put in an 11.590, and Bob King's running third right now at 11.594. Everyone seems to be really close together, Randy. I mean, 2/10, that's basically nothing. Tim Ryan, though, he's here, and, well, he has yet to put in a qualifying lap.
He is, however, on that first hot lap right now. The exits corner number 2 and comes through 3 and 4 right now. And we need to see what kind of time the RT driver of Tim Ryan can put in. First time through, actually isn't going to count for him. So not sure what happened there. So he should be on his second and final hot lap right now. Up around the top through turns number 3 and 4. Let's see what can Tim Ryan make happen here tonight. And he's going to put in a time of 11.618. So puts himself top 5. But very interesting qualifying tonight, Cam. Steven Renaud takes pole. And the people we're used to seeing up front, the likes of Bergeron, Ryan, one of the Selman brothers, they all find themselves down around the mid-pack. And while the top 3 spots, they get isolated out by Renaud, Hewitt, and Bob King.
And an interesting note right before we head to the grid, the track isn't as slicked off as we normally see it. It's only has moderate usage, so there should be plenty of track to use, so perhaps that was it. All right, let's take a look, Hugo, at the starting grid here at Lanier for the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series, round number 8 here on iRacing Live, RaceBot.tv, and DirtVision.com. Pole position is gone to the number 6 of Steven Renaud at 11.587. Lewis Hewitt, he'll start his outside. Bob King will start in row number 2. Alex Bergeron, he'll be starting from 4th position outside. Perhaps that could give him a whole shot going into corner number 1. Tim Ryan, he qualifies 5th. Austin Semmelman, he is starting in 6th position. Nick Cooper in 7th, and Austin Semmelman's brother, Dylan Semmelman, normally they're a bit further apart. Now they're going to be starting right near each other, as Dylan is going to be starting in the 8th position. Bradley Cash, he'll start in the 9th position. Chase Briscoe in 10th. Kevin Holly, he will start in the 11th position. Brett Wheeler will be starting in 12th. Dylan Wagner in 13th. Randy, we have got a boatload of drivers from all across. We've got, I think, 5 from across the pond from Australia, maybe 7 or 8 from the United States, and 2 from Canada. So good representation of where the sprint cars are popular here tonight. And boy, is this going to be a good show once we get this thing underway.
Yeah, it's good. This is going to be a really interesting race. The fact that we have some guys starting up on those front couple rows we're not used to seeing. Maybe they found something in the setups, or maybe just the starting track state. We are starting under what would be labeled pretty much moderate. However, that low line looks pretty slicked off, especially compared to the top side. I think there's going to be a lot of people running around the top side, the cushion of the racetrack here today, and it's going to be interesting to see how that top side falls off as the pace truck now gets the field rolling here for the first of 2 race laps. But still, eyes on, all eyes are going to be on the eyes of Bergeron, Ryan, and Selman. Are they back there based on virtue of speed, or maybe do they have something in race trim that those guys up in front don't have? Will they be able to drive their way through the field? Also important to note that pretty much of this 13-car field cam, top 12 are within a 10th. So very, very competitive field tonight.
Yeah, it is. As the pace car caught Steven Renaud napping there, that they're going to have to get themselves sorted out. It turns out it is 2 pace laps before they take the green flag. Steven Renaud, he is hovering now behind the iRacing official safety truck. Will he distance himself out like we have seen sometimes this season with some of the other drivers? No, he will not. He is going to stay right behind, which means almost as soon as that truck is going to pull in, I imagine he is going to pin that 410 wing sprint car to the ground. And there he goes. Steven Renaud brings us to the green. He's got the whole shot by a long shot as that number 6 car pulls himself up to first position. Bob King tried to dive to the inside. Nothing's on it. He's lost position.
There's been some incidents in the back as well. Dylan Selman made a mistake and he got into some early contact. He finds himself falling down the order, but still, that was a huge hole shot for Steven Renaud. Maybe a little bit of an experience with Lewis Hewitt starting up in that second spot. Maybe used to being a little bit further in the mid-pack. Wasn't prepared for that, but Bergeron's done a good job to slot himself in third. Bob King fourth, and Austin Selman trying to get around the outside of that black and yellow number 8 machine, still trying to get the power down, and actually Bob King's going to start stretching that gap out just a little bit here, and Renaud doing the same as well. Bit of a 1-car breakaway, and then we have Hewitt in second, and then back to Bergeron in third.
Yeah, and Steven Renaud, he's comfortably running up there in the front as he is just putting down the laps right now. He's running the fastest laps on the track. Some action going on around Bob King as I believe the car of Austin Selman wants to get on by that number 1 machine, really trying to look to make it work. And there's Tim Ryan. We've missed him for a couple of races now. He's trying to work his way through. Nick Cooper trying to get something in on him as we have got, by the way, a 30-lap race here around Lanier National Speedway. Austin Selman, though, he's just trying to work his way out. Now, this is an interesting thing about how this track is going to develop. There's going to be a rut developing right on the start-finish line, right as soon as where you would normally drop in. So as the track runs in, it's going to get even more tricky running that high side, Randy.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see this top side slowly go away. I think there's a little bit more life up there than we've been gotten accustomed to seeing this season, where you normally used to starting on the track a little bit more slicker, but you can already start making the bottom work and make aggressive moves. As Selman puts a big slider on Bob King, and he actually had that position for a moment, but Bob King's going to take it right back. Selman drives the car down to the bottom, though, and he's going to go right back down to try to solidify that spot from Bob King, and he gets good traction, but gets into Selman. I think that's going to give Selman that 4th spot comfortably now as Tim Ryan, Nick Cooper, and Briscoe. They're a part of this. Nick Cooper's going to end up facing the wrong way. That should be the first caution of this evening. Actually, no, we're going to stay green. He keeps it rolling.
Yeah, he's managed to get that thing turned around right quick. So the marshals, thank you for not bringing out that first caution today. But Steven Renaud, he's got the first position. Lewis Hewitt, he's got second. And Alex Bergeron, he's got third. And Steven Renaud has this in hand. As Austin Selman, after that action, is not happy as the action's still going on between Chase Briscoe and Bob King. As Chase Briscoe, he is basically almost ran out of room there through the corner. He has to slow way up as the Indiana employee gets it underway, going across the start-finish line again. It seems to me that they're really trying to work that outside line, even though I think it's starting to really slick off, as I think even Steven Renaud in mid-corner exit is really throwing it through the middle. He seems to be packing it high, diving it low. That's actually allowing Lewis Hewitt time to close.
Hewitt's doing a fantastic job right now closing this gap in. A 10th and a half went in favor of Lewis Hewitt that last time through, and another bit of time as well. So Lewis Hewitt, fastest car on the racetrack right now. Austin Selman, not far off either. He runs 4th. He's reeling in Bergeron for that 3rd spot. So here, as we're closing in on 10 laps to go, fight for the race leads, heating up. Lewis Hewitt looks to the outside, but Renaud slams that door shut. Hewitt's going to have to work to bring that gap back down, and still Selman reeling in Bergeron for 3rd.
He got his knuckle in that door as Bergeron's in the wall. Bergeron's in the wall. Perhaps that will bring out the caution. No, it will not. Bergeron is able to pull it out of the wall, and he gets himself underway, but he's lost a position. Austin Sumlin is now in your third position. Lewis Hewitt, he seems to have really had that thing dialed in for the last couple of laps now, but that top side is starting to slick away. You can see the right rears are just starting to rub that wall. Going on to the corner of number 3, they really are not having a good time. The car is not settled. Car's not happy. They're throwing the corners at the last second. This is really important here. We've got 10 laps to go, Randy. Really got to start getting those wing adjustments. They are critical.
Especially this fuel burns off as we're approaching 5 laps to go as well, and we're gonna, I think, see a little bit of a window where that bottom side starts to get really viable. I don't think it's quite yet, and Lewis Hewitt has done a fantastic job to reel in Steven Renaud. He's on that rear bumper of Renaud right now as they work through 1 and 2, and I think we're gonna see Lewis Hewitt maybe go for it down the inside this time through the number 7 machine. Looks to the middle of the racetrack, doesn't commit to the slider, but there's grip through the middle of the number 7 of Lewis Hewitt. Has the spot for now. He slides up to the top side here in 1 and 2. Move that number 7 machine to the point, approaching 5 laps to go.
Yeah, Lewis Hewitt, he has moved a fantastic move for the lead of the race. As Steven Renaud, he ended up actually having a bit of an issue, a little bit of a bobble, and he forced himself into some trouble that he saved. But Lewis Hewitt, he has worked on it, and he's got 5 laps to go here at Lanier National Speedway. Been green all the way through, but there's only a matter of time. These guys are really starting to race. 3 wide, coming off of corner number 4. Alex Bergeron in the middle of that, and Austin Sullivan, he's on the outside. Chase Briscoe, he wants a piece of this action. They're going wheel to wheel, going into 3.
Two of the most aggressive drivers we've seen in our Monday night broadcast, and Chase Briscoe and Alex Bergeron, and they tap wheels as they come across the stripe into 1 and 2. Briscoe wants to make it 2 for 1 as he tries to slide up in front of Austin Sullivan, but he's not clear. Caution flies somewhere else, though. Not sure for who. That's Bob King. He finds himself slow up on the top side of the wall, and I think this may have been just a solo car mistake. Yeah, he just lost that car all by himself, and I think we might just get a restart here. It's gonna be
I'm pretty sure that's... No, they just came across the line for lap 28. Bob King, though, he just parked it out there. That was... for the spin that we saw from Nick Cooper. But either way, though, Lewis Hewitt almost wrecking the car as they go across the line. Now, you got 2 more laps, buddy. But either way, Randy, I'm pretty confident that this is going to finish under yellow. So either way, though, we had a fantastic race. And Lewis Hewitt, he's just got to make it around a couple more times, and he is really trying not to do that.
Yeah, he is really doing everything in his power to either pop that motor or throw that car on the wall with the wheelies he's doing in celebration. Luckily, the pace trucks are not contactable. Otherwise, he would have just stuck it in the bed of the truck. But still, big win for Lewis Hewitt. He's a regular in these broadcasted races on Monday nights, Cam, and I think this is the first time we've seen him put one away.
Yeah, and I mean, Lewis Hewitt, he has been working so hard. He had the speed. I think he had it in hand. Steven Renaud, he fell off those last couple of laps. The car not built for those last couple of laps, I think. As Lewis Hewitt, there he goes. He crosses the start-finish line. He will come home in at the first position. And I got to say, that was a fantastic race. The most green flag running I think we've had all season long. And we almost had a full green one, but unfortunately a single car spin just ended up robbing us of that. But yeah, for Lewis Hewitt, the Australian driver, he is going to be happy here today, because it's not that that perhaps there was incidents that he took advantage of. No, this was raw speed that he got this on.
Yeah, Lewis Hewitt just flat out fast. He qualified that car 2nd place, and over there's a slight phase of the race where Steven Renaud may have been the favorite, but once we hit about lap 15, Renaud just lost something, and the track didn't come to him, whereas Lewis Hewitt, maybe if he found something in the wing setting, maybe there's the fuel burned off, or maybe his setup just liked that slicker surface, and it just came into him, and he was about a 10th quicker routinely than that number 6 machine the entire race long, and he eventually got a window, he got an opening, he took advantage of it, and from then on, Renaud, I don't think there's anything he could do about that. I think Hewitt had that one comfortably. The only person I think could have potentially challenged him if the field had gotten reset would have been Austin Sellman in the 1.
Yeah, and I almost would say as we're going to take a look at the results here at round number 8 of the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series here from Lanier National Speedway. It was Lewis Hewitt who had taken the victory. Steven Renaud he'll finish in second, but if that went green, I would almost think that Steven Renaud was set to finish maybe outside the top 5 because Austin Semmelman, Jace Briscoe, and Alex Bergeron, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, they were right there all together. They were just about to pounce on that number 6 machine of Steven Renaud. Kevin Holly, he'll go from 11th to 6th. He'll finish well as Bradley Cash, he'll finish in 7th position. Brett Wheeler will come home in the 8th position. Tim Ryan, he'll slide back to 9th. Dylan Wagner will come home in 10th. Nick Cooper, he'll finish in the 11th position. Bob King in 12th. And Dylan Semmelman, the only retirement for the day, in 13th position. And either way, though, Randy, 6 minutes, 51 seconds. I mean, that was outstanding amount of racing that we had for green flag running. I think Lanier, I had reservations, but you know what? This track kind of delivered here.
Well, it's one of the few racetracks we have that, like I said, it's the only racetrack that we have that falls in under half a mile, and because of that, it is just that little extra bit shorter and really gives you an idea of what, dirt racing in the U.S. happens, more routinely, because not all the racetracks in the United States hit that half-mile marker. The vast majority of them are quarter mile and 3/8 mile, maybe even a little bit shorter than that. And, I was always looking forward to see what kind of racing we get on these shorter tracks. I think Lanier's showing us we're in for some pretty good products here on our Monday nights once we eventually see it. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the points here as well, Cam. This is going to be a big win for Lewis Hewitt. He came in 4th in the points. Think he might be able to jump himself up somewhere around Steven Renaud, just based on the strength of field going into next week.
Yeah, and next week we'll be at the Williams Grove Speedway. And, well, we've got Austin Semmelman here to interview, so let's get him in here. Austin Semmelman, you came home in the 3rd position after starting in 6th, but so much more of that story. We had probably the longest green flag run that we've had here to date, especially at Lanier. It was our 2nd time here. Take me through it.
Yeah, it was interesting. Glad to be talking to you guys again, of course. I qualified really pretty bad there, and I was kind of in salvation mode, just trying to salvage a good finish out of that. Obviously, anything can happen at that track, so happy to come home with the top 3 for sure. Track changed a bunch, and yeah, I just wish I had more laps.
Now, that's something I always wish for, but of course, these things, they can only go so much. But either way, yeah, that outside line, at first, I think it was extremely comfortable. I mean, it was able to just do lap after lap after lap. No problems. The last 10 laps, that's when it started getting real dicey. I think I noticed people were just taking the corners, kind of leaning in, maybe breathing a little bit, nothing too crazy. But towards the end of that, people had to really jackknife that machine and try to pin it to try to straight line the corner as much as possible. We don't really get that many other tracks. If we do, it would be Williams Grove, which just happens to be where we're going next week.
Yeah, definitely. It was a unique track. There's kind of a strip that went away on the top, and you had to, if you wanted to run the top, you had to hit it just perfect. I missed it a bunch there, and Chase showed me the wheel down there, and he had the bottom hooked up. I apologize for getting into him there. We kind of tangled right before that caution, but yeah, it would have been a good finish for 3rd for sure. I wish I would have went down and tried down there a little bit more, but I heard somebody right behind me, and once you go down there, you have the risk of someone driving around the outside of you. So I was kind of, I was running down Steven for 2nd. I was catching him quite a bit on the top, so I figured if I just stay there, I should be fine. But Chase came out of nowhere on the bottom, but it was a fun race.
Yeah, well, Steven Renaud, last couple of laps, he really slowed on down those last 5 or 6 laps. I was getting ready. You guys were running 3 wide coming off of corners. Alex Bergeron was there. Briscoe was there. Both of y'all were throwing sliders with yourself. And I was just like, oh, when they catch Steven, it's going to be interesting. Unfortunately, that last caution kind of robbed that of us. But either way, though, good, clean racing. Williams Grove, however, we have had the best races that we've had. We've had amazing finishes at Williams Grove. And looking forward to it next week. So either way, just anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, definitely. Tonight's the last night I'll be running the pink car for National Breast Cancer Foundation. So that was cool for the month of October. I think like $40, $50 in that range goes to them from VLR races and stuff that I've got some money, won some money from. So that was really cool. Thanks to you guys for doing this, and of course Team VLR. Fun race, and can't wait to do it again next week.
Yeah, we'll see you then. So, Austin Selman, thanks a bunch for hopping in the booth as you have pretty much all season long. Randy, anything you'd like to add before we head out?
It was a fantastic race, and Lanier, the 2 times we have it on the schedule, we saw it the 3rd round of the season, then we see it here today on the night before Halloween. One of the best, really some of the best races we've seen here on these broadcast Monday night races. The first time we were here was awesome, and tonight was a very good and entertaining race as well. It was fun watching that track change, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next week. We go back to Williams Grove, and then going to be racing under the sunlight that time. One time we're not doing any night races at the Grove this season, but going to be interesting to see what happens at the Paperclip.
Yeah, I was going to say happy Halloween, but I went to an Australian. I don't really know what the Halloween tradition is over in Australia, but either way, Hugo, we'll cue that music up, and we'll start heading our way out of Lanier National Speedway and start pointing the wagons to Williams Grove. And either way, of course, you have been watching RaceSpot TV on iRacing Live and, of course, on DirtVision.com. Thanks to all our partners. It's going to be fun at Williams Grove. We've always had the showdowns there. I think we've had the closest race that we have had finished there right at the drag race to the line. We'll see if we can repeat that in 1 week's time. We'll see you at Williams Grove. So long, everybody. I've been Cameron Walsh. That's been Hugo Louis. And, of course, joined, as always, by Randy Chenworth. Have a good one. We'll see you in 1 week's time.